All right, right now we're digging into this one is going to be the Olmecs, aka the Negrito or the Black Indians of Mexico, who are the indigenous people of Mexico that have been written out of history. The dance that we're going to get into, let's shout out, first of all, you know what I'm saying? Let's shout out to Doodle Vision, aka James Flames, aka Choctaw Jimmy once again, because, you know, without the OG, the teacher, a lot of this wouldn't be possible. A lot of this history I'm putting together, I wouldn't know without him. So we're going to talk about the Kissenbosch. We're going to talk about these black devils of Mexico, the indigenous, the ones who civilized everybody, the ones who uh, basically enslaved the Mexica or your Huns who came off of the West Coast Mongol invasion. So let's get into it. Let's not waste too much time talking. Here we go.
Dios, no sé, no sé cómo explicarle aquí en mi pueblo que, como dice el dicho, traemos la música por dentro y por fuera nosotros.
Asumir, hacer y recrear su cultura son los propios negros. Todo lo que salga de ahí se distorsiona. Pueblo negro para nosotros es un grupo de personas que en esa diferencia reconoce que los elementos culturales que ostenta vienen de una lejanía que está muy ausente en esa memoria colectiva, pero que bailan diablos, bailan toros, artesa, tortuga, cantan corridos, dan versos. ¿De dónde vino todo eso? Hay un desconocimiento, pero lo tienen, lo asumen. Y ese asumir cultural define para nosotros lo que es un pueblo negro. La familia Silva, la familia Serrano, la familia Ayona se agruparon para sacar en Todos Santos ese baile, ¿no? Él llamaban el juego. Era un juego, la danza de los diablos.
Es un culto que se le hacía a un dios, el dios Ruja.
¿Quién es ese dios?
Fuera del dios del diablo adoraban yo creo
Thank you. That's Ekbalam.
Que se le hacía a un dios, el dios Ruja.
¿Quién es ese dios?
Fuera del dios del diablo adoraban yo creo al diablo.
Es el mismo diablo.
Ruja.
Pues así lo tomaba la gente, ¿no? Como un juego, una diversión. Yo siempre he presumido que todo niño que nace en Santiago Llano Grande, desde el momento que lo paren, ya está zapateando la danza de los diablos. Porque aquí no necesitamos de un buen maestro, un buen coreógrafo para darle los pasos.
¿Usted es afro-mexicano o ustedes qué?
Yo soy negro.
Muy bien.
¿Y por qué dice negro y no afromexicano? Porque se le ha dado el carácter por la institucionalidad, más que nada, pero si le preguntamos a cualquier otra persona de nuestro pueblo, responde negro.
Don't it?
Entonces, ¿qué ha traído, qué ha aportado este evento del día 19, el día del pueblo negro afromexicano en Oaxaca? Para empezar, ha sido en específico que hay una visibilización de la gente misma, de que se autonombre, se autodescriba como tal y como somos. Porque no hay la sensibilidad a veces en las comunidades por la falta de información, como que hay todavía que el ser negro como que le da pena, sienten vergüenza. Yo creo que no es un orgullo ser negro. En cuanto nosotros los negros hemos contribuido al Estado mexicano, con la lucha de la independencia, tenemos grandes José María Morelos, Vicente Guerrero, que con el tiempo la misma historia lo han ido blanqueando, porque es un negro, es un afro. Sí. Entonces hemos sido parte fundamental, pilar en la construcción de este México. Mas, sin embargo, hemos sido olvidados, hemos sido orillados. Porque como decía, es un orgullo siempre lo voy a decir, es un orgullo ser negro, y quisiera estar más negro, quisiera estar puchunco todavía. Pero este orillamiento del que habla, entonces, ¿en qué consiste este orillamiento? ¿Cuál es la situación de marginación? Yo siento que, pues se vea como dice, uno el color de piel a veces, no a veces, siempre como que es un obstáculo, siempre existe la discriminación. Y también la falta de interés yo siento, de las instituciones, la falta de interés de los gobiernos, hablando de los 3 niveles, donde no han tenido la sensibilidad, porque sabemos, no es posible que anteriormente, como decía aquí la maestra, que años atrás, pues no existía, como que era un México desconocido, que no sabían que había negros. Existimos, estamos vivos, a pesar de las condiciones en que estamos. Llegaron los llamas, llegaron sin bulto, llegaron los llamas, llegaron sin bulto, diciendo que viva, a mi noche, diciendo que viva. You can't do what you used to do.
It says language is very nearly related. That's the same with the Zacatecas or the Mixtecas. Batar have given many words. Also, this is the Atlantic Journal, C.F. Rafinesque, America, that we're reading out of. The Mixtecas that has given many words. His surmise that is very near that the Atomis are considered several other languages of the Anahuac is a dialect of other languages of Anahuac is a dialect of it. They are the Zaku or the Lasindon, the Mame, the Zetales, the Seudales, the Chepinos, the Mazatecas, the Chichonas, besides the Mixi or the Sutecas or already mentioned, This is the true word diminished the number of languages in the region and extended the Mixtecan nation far south and east of Guatemala as the Otomi. The Chichimillas will extend it far to the north. I have a good vocabulary because me and the Otomi language by D. Navi, 1767. And although only 10 words can be found in Mixteca of Vitar, 5 of them are alike similar, which give 50% of mutual affinity and leave little doubt of the primitive connection. These words are father, hata, dusintun, land of Behe, gunae, nose, zenu, distin, son, batsi, or danzie, bread, thun, or desite. The Chichimillas, dogs, devils, or northern dogs in Aztecs are not a nation, but a appellation was given to the northern wild tribes and foes of the Aztecas, even to the ones speaking the Azteca language, and lately to many of the Apaches, Crees, and Pawnee tribes, forming a nation spreading from Anahuac to Oregon and Athabasca Lake, among which the Shoshones of Oregon bear also the name of the Snake Indians as yet. In result, I am led to believe that the Mixtec and Zapotecs were once the Tomies and many others the Snake Nation of Americas, which did afterwards divide into the dog and cat tribes of the Zapotecas and the Mixtecas. The names happen in Asia and North America, where the nations ascribe their origin to snake men, dog men, and cat men or people. The Olmecs are the Olmecs of the or Olmecs of ancient Anahuac, whose name Old Devils in Azteca are said to have settled in Anahuac after the Ottomans, but their allies, the Zechulians or the Zycayans, whose name we may recognize in courtiers of the modern times, and probably the old Zapotecas of the southern Mixtecs are yet called the Zycayans. No, this would be the Zymicans, if I can say, or the Lucayans. You know what I'm saying? I don't see how that would translate that. It doesn't make much sense. But as you can see, the Olmecs are called the Old Devils. As we just read, these people have the Mixtecs came from the sea, the Aztecs came from the sea, with Fushang and now all of a sudden they have this culture that they are bastardizing because they killed off everybody that would know it. Anybody that would have the real history, they killed off and usurped. So now these same people have to now piece together this old history of the people that they usurped and now live in the land, especially after they flopped sides and joined sides with Cortez, because they were Cortez's tributaries also. We'll get into that story in just a second also. Shout out to Doodoo. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get into that one and exactly why when the Itzamaya or the Mayans got back from North America, their dark-skinned Indians got back from North America and found them in a temple playing motherfucking dress up. They got their heads cut off. But let's keep going. Their settlement is so ancient that it is beyond the Azteca and even the Tolteca chronology. It happened afterwards, after the sway of the gods, the giants and apes, different nations that conquered and expelled the giants and the titans of Anahuac, called Tutamians or the Tzotziltli, and took the name of the Tequanese or the people of the tigers. They were divided into the tribe of the Olmecs, the Zyclans, and the Zacatecas, speaking the same language. See Turwakunde. They came from the snowy mountains and united from the conquest of the king of Kanatakali behind many cities ruling long while over Anahuac. Another tradition traces the origin of the Humecas of the Humactal brothers of the Zilua north of Anahuac that indicates several dynasties ruling successively the empire first, the Olmecs, the Chochabam, Quetzalcoatl's famous legislator of the Chocholua, the Humac are the end of the Colopluchli, last king called the Tascalans towards 1196 of our era, who drove them to the east, settling in their country. The last word here of the Olmecs in the Aztec history is 1457-1467, when the Costasa on the seashores were conquered by Montezuma I. While this name disappears from history, that the Mixtecas and the Zapotecas appear in the same place or the southeast of Mexico, and this the evidence is complete that we need that the same nation under different names. So as you can see that you know what I'm saying, these ones who were ended up being slaves of the Spanish and the Mixtecas were now usurping the history and bleaching out the population. In proof, it is sufficient to notice that the principal subjects uh, essays contained in number 1 or 2, or that we will be found in numbers 3 or 4 in general knowledge, Latin knowledge, taxes and knowledge, and cheap books of employment of his wealth, uh, impediments to knowledge, primitive discoveries, and education of free institutes of Paris, principles of Flemingberg, principles of Jacquot, institutions needed in America. History of China before the flood, early colonists, cradle of mankind, Asiatic Negroes, the Polynesians, American history, Americans nations, the Atlantic nations in America before the flood, primitive Negroes of America, history of the Zapotecas, domestic animals, history of the Shawans, laws and low weight, ancient history of the Iroquois, last Indians of Virginia and New Jersey, the Americans are not Jews. Ain't that it? I love it. Okay, so now that we can get rid of that Hebrew Israelite extraness, you know what I mean? I definitely understand where they're going with it, but you have to understand when we're talking about it, like in the sense of it, you need to be connected back to the land. And it is a story, but you have to realize that's their story with a whole bunch of mixed up, fucked up names. So you can read it, you can read that book and and use it for what it is, but please don't let it drag you down, don't let it beat you up, don't let it pull you out your character. Please don't be out here arguing over it. As ignorant as Catholicism sounds as a kid, you know what I'm saying? I would have punched a motherfucker for telling me you can combine all religions damn near. But you know what I mean? As I'm grown up and as I've become to, coming to knowledge, you begin to realize a lot of these stories are just stories of great people that they did not know who these people were. Or as we're going through the books, as it said in Plato's book, that these were just stories of the gods of the great people of Atlantis. You know what I mean? These people are of America. These are stories that they got from their elders, the Algonquins. And whenever they got these stories over there in the Middle East, they began to fight over these stories of who are the people of the chosen people and the people of the, you know what I'm saying? So you get where it gets all mucked up. It's a telephone game. And if you play the telephone game, by the time it get to whoever, it's going to have a whole different motherfucking origin than it did before. So, we just gonna let's keep it moving. But let's grab this book though. Ignorant as hell. Who ride down the street like that, man? He held that horn for at least 4 blocks. But I ain't nothing to worry about. Let's hit pause real quick. This is 1, una, un, in. 2, 2, dos, do. 3, trios, trua. 4, 4, quatre, qua. 5, 5, king, sing. 6, 6, 6, 6. 7, 7, sept, sept. 8, 8, hut, hut. 9, nuf, no. 10, tif, dix, dis. In the 3 numbers marked with the crosses, there is no affinity in those 2. The analogy is rather remote. Thus, the English and French languages compared merely by the 10 cardinal numbers, which are very fair scale in many languages. Evidence is considerable. An analogy of 7 to 10 equal or 70%. But if the numbers 2 and 9 with the remote analogies only reckon for 1, it is reduced to 6 and 10 to 60%. While in the formula of identity, it is further reduced to 42 and 100 or 42% of positive identity. Derived from the 3 parents of both languages, the Celtic, the Teutonic, and the Latin. I have been led to the inquiry mode of investigation by the wish of finding the affinities of the origins of the American nations and languages, which many superficial examiners have pronounced to be involved in total obscurity and impossible to classify, but I have not found them so. But my formula, all evidence their mutual analogies, who calculable amounts of enable us to classify them, enables us to classify them. Having further extended this process to many doubtful languages of Africa and elsewhere, and having even compared 3 languages which the others known, English to Taino and Haitian, Samson, Samung of the Asiatic Negroes of Makala, I had. The god is Yakona, Makon, and Gachamakon, Ner. Gachami, Kore, Achiman, and Achinata. Achinaka, I don't know how you say that right there, my bad. Land, Cox, Kaya, Zaya, Akan, Kati, Ave, and Ka. English priest, Bajito, Bation, Fabo. Oh, wait, we gotta go back to read. Come to the surprising, unexpected results that all languages have a greater or lesser affinity with all the other languages, which fact, although it may have been surmised, have never been proved, but which can now be proved mathematically. It's all Phoenician tongue, it's all Ladino. The greater and lesser affinity of all languages, which fact, although it may have been surmised, that have been proved, which can now be proved mathematically. Okay, whence flows another very important category of rule. The languages and nations are no longer to be classified or connected by insulted or limited analogies, but the numerical amount of their total affinities with each other of all of the languages. This would be found as a great step in the historical knowledge of mankind, evolved from the most solid and evident physiological proofs, the fact that they already partly announced by men in 1824 and 1828. And I can now add that I therefore confirm the unity of mankind, since even Negro languages have preserved the indications of their common origin. In all American languages, I have found a greater analogies with the Sanskrit, Caucasian, Arab, Mongol, and Samoan and Chinese of Asia, the Copts, the Berbers, the Jolof, the Congos of Africa, the Celtic, the Cantabrian, the Latin, the Greek of Europe, and even the Malay the Talagala, the Japanese, and Hawaii and Company, and Polynesian, amounting in instances to 50, 60, and 70% of analogy, or form 30 to 60% of identity. They shall conclude by giving one instance of the numerous analogies of the Taino and Haiti and Cuban, Jamaican. In 1492, the Guahi of the Canary Islands, now both extinct. The number of the words compared was 32. The following 14 are analogous. You see, with the God, we did God double that. We did priest. They did man. They did corn. They did water. They did milk. They did club, sword, good, dog, and hog and swine. Thus, the Haitian, a dialect of Arawak, spreading from Florida to Brazil to Guac, is nearest to African dialect of the Atlantic or Berber language, spreading from the Atlas or Nubia. Of 14 and 32 mutual affinities equal to 44%, which indicates that they were dialects of two kin languages spoken in two nations that were akin at the period unknown. Thus, the clue of the last afforded to the American origins much more certain than the previous numberless theories of the subject, and a solid basis acquired to build upon in any further researches and investigation of the American origin of history. Calithrop has asserted that this historical model of research will prove the languages are even of more importance than features and complexions to distinguish the assimilate human families. The speech of man peculiar to him shall be found to take the lead even in physical form deviations. I'm pretty sure everybody is, you know what I'm saying? If you're not familiar, but I'm pretty sure everybody in this community is familiar with the primitive nations of America by Professor C. F. Rafinitska. This one is pretty good. You know, and to get in what we were just talking about, as they say, two different people populated America, or were, you know, mixing in America before, which would be the Asians and a Negro, an indigenous Negro of America, to make what you would call your Plains Indian, your Crow, your everybody up that left coast that we know, everybody from Fusang down to the colony of women, the Amazon, the island of black women, as we can see from Cortez, everybody, the Explandian, you know what I'm saying? They knew. It says our excursions have been chiefly extended through the West Maryland and Central Pennsylvania, applied to geological and botanical and zoological research, performed at leisure from June to September. We have visited Baltimore and found many races, objects, and the cabinets of Dr. Powell, Cohen, Hayden, and Company. We have explored the geology of Maryland from Baltimore to the Allegheny of the Potomac and Eastburg and Pennsylvania, chiefly the mountains from the Maryland to Sherman Creek and the River Juanita from the mountains of Juanita to Westchester, southeast direction, and Sherman Creek in the Perry County. We have found a new and very rich locality for fossil remains where in 1 week, we collected about 50 different species, of which a further accounted will be given in number 3. We have found new localities for obsidian, lignite, and rare minerals. I, Ichicology, we have observed the Dawn 25 SP, I don't know what that means, the fishes, from the Susquehanna to the Potomac River. With the affluent, chiefly new species in botany, we have collected 1,200 specimens, chiefly of the Allegheny Ridges, and have perhaps 5 or 6 species. We have visited the remarkable caves of Carceli and the fossil bones and teeth. We found one, which poses we have also visited the mineral water Belinda, Maguire, Emmettburg, Carlisle, Kennedy and Company, in which they shall publish their accounts. But I read the wrong part, so let's get back to what we were supposed to. Okay. Society of Geography, having offered a reward for the best memoirs on the origins of the Asiatic Negroes. I sent last year 2 memoirs of the Asiatic Negroes, which I demonstrated the affinities of language which the Africans, Polynesian Negroes, and well as the Hindus and the Chinese renders a probable that all the Negroes that originated in the southern slopes of the Himalaya Mountains, as they did once, existed all over India, South China, Japan, Persia, Arabia. My second memoir was The Negroes and the Black Nations Found in America before Columbus, wherein I proved the existence and the connection between the languages of the Negroes of Africa and the Polynesians. The memoirs have been rewarded as Learned Society Geography, with a gold medal and 100 francs, with lately communicated to be by Messer Warden, former council in Paris, and Joe Mard, member of the Institute. This gratifying intelligence will be acceptable to all my friends and furnish another proof of my ability to unveil at last the origins of all the ancient nations and tribes, pursuing the path which I have opened by comparing all languages mathematically, numerically with each other. To many facts, the old black nations in America will be new, yet it is it is an important feature of American history as well as existence of primitive white nations. With the existence of primitive white nations, they're still numerous to furnish a kind of insight into the subject. I will here merely enumerate the black tribes of which I have found evident traces and remnants in the North and South America and the ancient caracals of Haiti, representing the nations of beasts, and the historical songs C. Roman and Martyr, the Californians and the Carib Islands, the Black Caribs, the Garifuna, and the other black branches of Carib. See Rochet, Heron, and Company. Araguas of is a cultura mentioned by Garcias in the West Indies, quite black. The young black auroras of Raleigh and the auroras of the Spaniards, ugly black and brown Negroes, yet existing near the Orinoco in the language known called monkey by their neighbors. The Chichamayas of the Guyana, brown Negroes like Hottentot, seen, Humboldt. The Managipas and the Porgis of Neoff of the Matoyas Nivet, and the Brazil brown Negroes with curly hair. See Vespucci's and Pigafetta, the Negratas and the Martyrs, and Darien yet existed in Choco under the name Chucanas and Guanas, or the Chino. See Molina, ugly black and red Negroes. Those are the Papuan called Manambi, blackish, with Negro features and hair. C. Stevenson. The Guabas of the Jaras. The Talagutas near the Honduras. See the Jaras of the company, now called the Zambos. The Insulin or Estros, the new California ugliest, blackest Negroes. See Venegas and Langford and Company. The Blackish Indians met by the Spaniards in Louisiana in 1543. See De Soto's invasion. The ensign of the Esteros of the New California ugly blackish Negroes. See Venegas and Landros and Company. The Black Indians met by the Spaniards in Louisiana in 1548. See De Soto's invasion. The Moon-eyed Negroes and the Albinos destroyed by the Cherokees and seen in Panama and Barton and Company among the Iroquois language has 50% in analogy with the Gwanua and 40% with the Ashuans and the Fanti of Guinea and about 33% with the Fula and Bora, the Congo language of Africa and Asia, and 39% of the numerical affinity with the Semang Negroes and 40% with the Negroes of Ottoman and the well-known Australias of New Holland. All of this and many of the details are given at length, proved by the theories, compared vocabularies in the memoir.